For months, the Kremlin has told the world a simple story, that Russia and China are partners, equals, friends. But what if that story isn't just false? What if it's hiding something far more dangerous?
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has finally said openly what many have suspected for a long time. And judging by the Kremlin's reaction, Moscow is deeply uncomfortable that the rest of the world is starting to pay attention. Because the reality of Russia's relationship with China is far more troubling than Putin wants anyone to believe.
For months, Vladimir Putin has tried to sell the idea that Russia's partnership with China is balanced, a friendship between equals. But Russia is no longer just exporting oil to China. It is slowly giving up control over its own future. This relationship now goes far beyond ordinary trade agreements. We're seeing discussions that involve land, waterways, and strategic access. Chinese maps have begun using Chinese names for cities inside Russian territory, and talks are underway that could allow Chinese ships to pass through Russian rivers. At the same time, Beijing is demanding deeper and deeper discounts on Russian oil, prices so low they border on exploitation. Putin has pushed Russia from a regional power into something closer to a resource supplier, all in an effort to keep his war going just a little longer. What makes this moment especially dangerous is that Russians themselves are beginning to recognize what's happening, and they're starting to speak out. This all gained attention after a recent statement by Zelensky. He pointed out that in Russia's long history, no leader has ever handed over sovereignty to another power the way Putin appears willing to do now. According to Zelensky, Putin is paying an extraordinary price simply to avoid ending the war, even though the world still has the power to pressure Russia toward peace. And the economic data supports this argument. Between 2021 and 2024, trade between China and Russia increased by around 2/3. At first glance, it looks like mutual growth, but look closer. Russia exports oil, gas, and raw materials. China exports finished goods, vehicles, technology, and most importantly, dual-use products. Dual-use items like machine tools and microchips can serve civilian purposes, but Russia repurposes many of them for its weapons industry, missiles, drones, military equipment. With Western sanctions cutting off alternatives, Russia has become deeply dependent on China for these supplies. Sanctions have left Russia with very few buyers for its energy exports. That gives China enormous leverage. Today, about 1/3 of Russia's exports go to China. Meanwhile, Russia makes up only a small fraction of China's trade. Both Putin and Xi Jinping understand this imbalance, and China is using it. While Putin pours military resources into Ukraine, Russia's eastern regions are being left exposed. China has already been expanding its influence in Central Asia through the Belt and Road Initiative. Siberia holds enormous value, resources, land, and water. Northern China faces severe water shortages, and Lake Baikal alone contains a massive share of the world's surface fresh water. Signs of territorial ambition are already visible. In 2023, official Chinese maps began labeling parts of Russia's Far East with Chinese names. Nationalist voices in China openly argue these lands were taken unfairly during imperial times. Rather than resisting, Putin appears to be conceding ground preemptively. Russian media reports discussions about granting China access through the Tumen River to the Sea of Japan. Negotiations intensified at the end of 2024. This year, cooperation expanded even further, including visa-free access for Chinese citizens. Many Russians are alarmed. Online reactions show growing fear that Siberia and the Far East are being quietly handed over. Even pro-war Russian commentators are now sounding the alarm. They warn that Russia is becoming a raw material colony for China, exporting natural wealth, importing finished goods, a model that benefits China's development, not Russia's. Economic pressure is intensifying. Russia's oil tax revenue may fall to its lowest level since the invasion began. China is demanding steeper discounts. Russian oil is now trading below $35 per barrel, far below global prices. Before the war, Russian crude traded close to international levels. Now, the gap is massive. The Kremlin claims Europe is collapsing economically, but Russians are pushing back. They're sharing videos showing that it's Russian cities, not European ones, that lack holiday lights and public investment. Despite all the propaganda, reality is becoming harder to hide. Putin promised strength and sovereignty. Instead, Russia is becoming more dependent than ever. And the question many Russians are now asking is simple. How much of the country's future is being sold to keep this war alive?